Hey, how's it going? It's your favorite lovely host, Key, and I'm back for another edition of Build in Public, and you're watching the Primitive channel. Um, yeah, that's my intro. I'm still working on it, guys. Anyways, how you doing? How you doing? Okay, so today we're going to be continuing working on our comic panel application, and for this, I decided that I needed to make an executive decision and recalibrate myself so that we can basically get off of a little bit of a tangent that we've been on in the last stream and a half or so. So I'm going to start the stream off by taking a look at the sprint that we're working on, updating it for the reality, of course, that we've actually programmed for, and then basically trying to figure out like what's the next set of things. Because by defining a new sprint, by defining a new set of priorities and being fresh about it and thinking about the high level of what I'm trying to achieve in this next chunk of time, I'm going to be more organized, and it's also going to be much easier for me to make meaningful progress. And sometimes you have to go back to the drawing board. In fact, you should be going back to the drawing board constantly when you're making applications, because you learn so many things along the way. And sometimes you even challenge assumptions you made, which can make for dramatically different work in some cases. This is a bigger thing that happens when you work alone. Hopefully not so much of a thing when you work with other people, but it's just a part of making anything. So that withstanding, let's go ahead and jump into our app. So within the directory structure here, I have some documentation in this dedicated space, a directory called docs. And inside of here, I have a current.md, which is effectively the document that stores our sprint information. Let's make some more space here. I'm going to do Command-Shift-V to open up preview mode. Now, this is the stuff that we've pretty much done up to this point. There are some divergences here, however. When we originally made the front end experience, originally the design was actually just using regular HTML, right? HTML canvas. At some point, I switched to using a Pixie.js canvas, and instead of making the original placeholder app that we had here, I ended up just going ahead and making kind of a mock-up of the layout. I also created component hierarchy. In fact, let's just go ahead and open it up really quick. I'm going to do bun run dev. That's the script to run my Tauri application locally. So give this a few moments for it to build and compile, and then we'll be able to see the app. And if you're joining us for the first time, thank you so much for stopping by the stream. My name is Key, and you're watching Primitive. This is Build in Public. The whole goal of this series is for me to just get in the habit of sharing what I know, and also bringing you on the journey of making a really cool app. In this case, we're making a comic panel app, an app basically that is meant to help comic artists set up the page layouts so they can get to the fun stuff, which is drawing. Something I love and something I hope that this app will make it easier to do. That's the long-term goal. I'll do a review at some point for those of you who are kind of jumping into the middle of this series, and our Tauri app is running. Okay, so here we go. So this is like the basic the basic layout. This entire interior area, which is signified by this checkered background and this turning star, this area will be the area where the canvas is composed for the comic pages. I just have a little start animation here as a placeholder. You can see here that there will be a section on the left for the tools, configurations, and buttons and things like that. And then the right side here will be for navigation items. And all we really did here is we made the canvas dynamically sizable, so that your workspace area will, of course, change as you use the application in different sizes here. Now, we went a little bit overboard because none of this will be useful until we figure out the data model, which is the other thing that I want to start working on tonight. The actual data model that will allow us to put things into this canvas area, but organize it as a series of layers, which can then be saved as a TIFF file format. And that is meaningful because if our users can make their designs within our application on this canvas area and save it as a TIFF file, then they'll be able to export and import files between our application and other popular graphic design and art making applications, all or most of which are operable with the TIFF format. Also, TIFF is great because it offers us a data structure that we can use to store important information for how the DOM and its elements are organized. So if we have SVGs in there, or vector graphics, so to speak, if we have raster graphics, if we have things like I want to do a perspective grid tool, anything like that needs to be saved in a format and in a data structure or data model that is operable with the TIFF format. So trying to build out the canvas and all that stuff without understanding the requirements for the data model is going to make it much harder. So in addition to doing the review of the tasks and the backlog today, we're going to start just taking a peek at the data model so we can get a better idea of how we'll work with that model between the front end application state and the back end, and then whatever background service is responsible for writing that format for the file. That's a lot. We won't get through all of it today, but getting started now is better than waiting forever. Okay, so those are our two things, and that's the title of today's stream. Let's see how much we get done. This might be a two-parter. Okay, so one of the things here that I know is that we in fact did all the things that are checked off in blue here, but we did diverge from our original plan here, and we did not recreate the draggable element stuff that we had before. I found that it was unnecessary, and only because I determined that I want to use the file format for saving the documents as opposed to saving them to a database like I was before. So the whole database thing that I built out will be useful in the future because there are going to be some parts of this that I want to use the database for. But for what I'm working on right now, which is like the immediate interface stuff, it wasn't really worth my time to recreate all of that. So I can effectively say that this part is done. It's just done differently. So I'm going to open up Gemini here, and I'm going to ask Gemini to just quickly update this section, step 5 of the refactoring section, the front end refactoring. I wanted to just simply look at what we actually did and just update this description here in hindsight. Let me get my big head out the way. Y'all can't even see the text. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to say for this project, we are using current.md as the primary place to hold information about our tasks. For step 5, I got off on a bit of a tangent, but I also, I would like you to just update that section to match the reality of what was made. I didn't use the database store coordinates for draggable content. Instead, I just set up the basic Pixie canvas and layout hierarchy for the app, and instead of using the database to hold content data, I will in the future work to use the TIFF format as the primary data store for Canvas art. That was a very long prompt. I'm so sorry I put y'all through that. Oh my gosh. Y'all just got just a pure stream of my thoughts, but there you go. There you have it. That was poetry. Bars. Okay. You know what? I will not enjoy the day when Gemini says, bro, lay off just a little bit on the words. Oh man, if AI could be annoyed, that would be a trip. It's like, say less, bro. Say less. Okay, so let's see what it says here. Let me just say, I've been mostly using Cascade. This is like the first time in a couple of days, maybe like 5 days actually, that I've used Gemini. I've been having some problems with getting it to initialize. There must have been some update, but what I like about it in comparison to Cascade is that it just presents changes better. There's been some recent changes to Cascade that I don't like, and Windsurf I don't like. Well, I'll have to get into that a little bit later. Maybe I'll do a review or a critique of this specific update. They made a major UI overhaul recently. Okay, anyways, let's see. Canvas integration. Okay, so I know that it did not bother to look through any code when it decided to write this. So what I'm going to do is instead of having it do this change, I'm going to give it some further directions. I'm going to say, first, can you please familiarize yourself with the front end and see what we did in order to write this up as a set of tasks retroactively. I just need this to be accurate for what we put together. For historical purposes. I need basically for it to write a receipt, but to do it in the format as if it was a part of the sprint. So let's see if it does that. It doesn't have to be perfect. But what I'm going to do is after I get this fixed up, I'm going to look at all the things that are not completed in here. We don't need to do the database migration thing. That is going to be in... Actually, we don't even need that anymore because we're not going to do the database thing for the primary data store. But we do need to move this CI/CD pipeline stuff. This is actually kind of one of the major points that I didn't really get to. So this is going to be a high priority, is to make sure the CI/CD pipeline stuff is defined, at least with the branching strategy, because I need to be able to get this application to people to actually use, and I need that to be set up early so that I can get into that feedback loop with potential interested users of my application. And then so there's a CI/CD pipeline that can actually take me from building to releasing and then being able to pass off some type of executable file to my potential customer. I'm not doing anything. I ain't going nowhere, okay? In the words of Azalea Banks, grinding but ain't going nowhere. And that's not how I want to live my life. So that's actually going to be a pretty high level thing that we need to do. And as I make the new current sprint document, this is going to just be high up on my list. By the way, you will not always get everything done when you set out a sprint. Now, sometimes you don't put enough things on your sprint. You get it all done too early. You don't know what to do next. That's also an issue as well. It's very hard to figure out like the exact amount of work or whatever for a capacity. So give yourself some grace if you didn't get everything done, okay? Okay, so I think we can accept this change. Let's just see what it does, and then we'll take a look. Here, let's see. So, okay, so created a responsive, I'll just read it in the preview. Let's see. Oh, it looks like that did not. Let's try it again. Okay, here we go. So create a responsive 3-column layout. Yes, that's what we did. It serves as a primary structure for the application's UI. This component defines the left, center, right panels. This provides a consistent, scalable structure for organizing UI components and tools, ensuring a predictable user experience across different features. Yes, that's what I want. I wanted to have some like well thought out structure for the application's user interface that is also modular, made of very modular pieces. And I wanted to think about that early instead of hodgepodging it together. Okay, so integrate basic Pixie canvas. Set up a workspace render.tsx component to encapsulate the Pixie.js canvas. Basically, that's saying that this whole Pixie.js canvas is its own modular thing. I could actually replace the canvas logic with the new canvas canvas logic eventually if I wanted to, which I expect to do at some point. So it's all in one, one sort of self-contained thing. Separates rendering concerns from the main application logic. Absolutely. Okay, so future data storage strategy. Decide on. Okay. New application target now the TIFF file format as a primary data store for all Canvas related artwork and metadata. Yeah, so okay, so this is great. It's not as detailed as maybe I would have written it if I had done it myself, but at least this kind of says what we did and it is accurate to reality. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to say, please create, or please archive the current.md in the archive directory and make a new one. Carry over step 6 as the first step in the new, as the first item. I don't think I'm going to call these steps in the future. The new current.md. This represents a new script or new sprint. Sprint. Okay. Something else I think I want to do is I think I'm going to add metadata to these current.mds and I'm going to have them archived with the date. Actually, no, oh gosh. Okay, I won't be able to do it because I forget when this first one was made. But in the new one, I'm going to add metadata. But I'm at least going to have the archive saved as the date or something like that. Okay, when you archive, pick a naming convention that preserves the date when it was archived. When you make the new current.md, put metadata at the top that has created date set for today. I'm going to do this because I'm just like a believer that if you're going to make a bunch of documentation and data, do it with the idea that it may not be a human being that will read it in the future. Or do it with the idea that it could be consumable by some sort of system, right? Because it is a lot of work for a human being to sort of page and thumb through a bunch of different files and stuff. But if you have good metadata, structured metadata, where there's a consistent format across the different files that you're using that for, then you can run searches and queries and you can make it consumable by all sorts of parsing tools. And that can be really convenient, And I don't know how far or how deep that's going to go, but if this is a long-lived application, that's going to be something that feasibly could be important. And it doesn't take a lot of work to do it, especially when you're making code like this. So let's go ahead and see what that what that update looks like. It archived the sprint here, and then it made the new current.md. I want the metadata to be in the proper format for it.d. And this sprint needs a title in the metadata as well. This will potentially be opened in Obsidian, so do meta for that. I forget what that actual metadata approach is called, but I know that I do look at a lot of my markdown files in Obsidian, and there's like a specific format. Yeah, here it is, right here. I don't know the name of it, but it's just like the standard metadata, so you can add your own key value pairs here, and then all of this stuff becomes really good for search. Okay, so top level heading. Oh, we gotta do it. We gotta do it H2, I guess. Okay, so I'm not going to give these numbers. At some point, I'll probably come up with a tool that I can randomize hashes for these tasks. Actually, let me do that right now. Actually, okay. So I'm gonna ask this to. Well, let me explain this. Let me explain this, I guess, before I do it, because I don't want to confuse anyone. But I'm gonna make a little tool here. And this is a tool that I commonly make in my repos. This helps with documentation because one is you don't want to always use AI to make documentation for you. And if you do use it, sometimes you can use scripts to save on token usage, but also to make things more consistent whenever you're making like regular or formatted information with generative AI. So imagine that I have a document like this, and this document is meant to hold a bunch of regular text information. And this text info is going to be something that you're using to track unique items. So like in this case, we're going to be tracking tasks. Let's just call this task. Oops. Okay, so these are different tasks. And the thing about tasks is that each task is going to have like certain types of features that make it a task as opposed to something else, right? So these features, let's make them white. And these features could be like each task has a name. Each task may have a, oops, here it goes. Each task might have a user story. Each task might have acceptance criteria. Basically, the tasks that you work on for your application, they have a set of properties that ultimately describe what they are and what you're doing, who's responsible for it, and all that kind of stuff. Now, the reason why these properties are important and why a lot of task management systems track them is because it becomes really important to have the ability to do like sort of like forensics essentially. Like think about if you worked on something and you forgot what you did and you needed to go back and look at it or review it or have other people potentially like audit what you did. Having your tasks organized and with data in some type of way is really important. So this is not all the different properties, but just think along the lines of this. Now, my goal is to essentially make a document, a markdown document, in fact, because I want this to still be human readable and editable. But my goal is to make a markdown document where I can have entries essentially for any number of tasks that I'm working on, but have them basically placed into my application in a regular format. And also, most importantly, so that they have unique identifiers. So that if I ever wanted to do a text-based search or even turn these into consumable documents, every task can be searched and organized and referenced in an independent way. Now, this might sound like really crazy, or it's probably hard to see the value in that right now. I guess the thing to know is that a lot of times when it comes to task management, people don't do what I'm doing. Okay, people don't use like just a plain text document. Most of the time you use something like Trello or ADO or something like that. Jira, GitHub projects, and we may move to that in the future. But if you're going to just take on the task of manually managing your tasks outside of those softwares, then at the very least, think about how does this data become searchable or usable in the future, so that if you ever do want to turn them into data sources to import into those systems, you can do it. And this is how I'm going to do it here. And this is going to result in documents that a document that has regular entries. Let's go ahead and make an example one. So this is, we're just going to make this like a literal example. We're going to say my task. It may have some type of hash code. some type of unique hash rather. We'll call this unique. So it's going to be like this. And then I want to have, I think for this format, I want to have it like description, like this. And oh, another thing too, I want this to be an H1 because when I parse it, oh no, I'll do H2. Because when I parse this document, I'll just be able to search by H2s and then filter by the text in the H2. And I can use regex to break up and search by the name or by the hash. So this will have a description under this task. I'll make this bold, and that's how I'll be able to basically parse it. Is I'll just parse for bold text. There'll be a description. I'll have acceptance criteria, and this is unique hash, and I can, for now, I'm just going to leave it like this. But I guess the point here is that as I work on this, I can come up with new things to track between these tasks. I think for right now, description and acceptance criteria make, oh, let's just add like notes. Notes is fine too. Okay, so yeah, these three features are what I need. And then the last part is like, I could definitely just write these out myself, but I want to make a script where I can just actually call that script, or at least direct AI to call that script and fill it out instead of writing to the file. Sometimes when you have AI try to write to a file, if it's a really large file, it's going to struggle with managing that in context. And we don't really need AI to go and read this file every time we move and add things to it. We just need for it to be able to append an entry, essentially. So this script is going to be, like, you don't need AI to do all this stuff for you. Sometimes you can just literally write scripts, and those scripts will help you capture ideas, and then maybe you can work with AI to develop them or something like that. But this is going to help a lot. So this script is going to be we're going to use JavaScript to do this. It's going to be a Node script that we can run. And I'm going to actually have AI write the script for me, in fact. So let's go ahead and do that really quick, because it's going to allow us to basically have something that's easier to manage programmatically. I'm first going to have it convert this to our desired format, and then I'm going to direct it to make the script that could recreate this for any number of future tasks. Okay, so I want you to update the task we have in current.md. I need it to fit into this format. Name, unique hash, and it's probably going to like give us a weird, actually, yeah, it's probably going to give us a weird layout, but I can adjust it. So name, unique hash, what did I have? I had description, notes, and acceptance criteria. Description, notes. Let's put acceptance criteria in the notes. Let's do links and notes. Okay, so I might come up with other fields that I want to track, but let's just do that for now. And then hopefully it'll get this something close to what I'm thinking in my head, and something that we can also easily parse. Parsability is important. Parsability in this context, by the way, it means how do we write this in a consistent and repeatable way so that we can break it apart and treat this document as something that is searchable, easily searchable. Okay, so this is getting close. I'm going to move the tag like this. I want to put the tag in a like that, and I want these hashes to be alphanumeric hashtag. Oh, I ran out of Pro. That's cool. I need an example. I think I'll use a UUID instead, actually. Yeah, I'll use a UUID here, and I'm just going to use. So whenever you see someone do this type of syntax here, where they use two carets or two chevron arrows here, and they do something that's all caps, this is a way to signify some type of variable or some type of constant that has yet to be specifically defined. So that's what this means. Okay, so we have our task here, and this is actually all part of the same task, but I can see having these separate. That's fine. Actually, no. I'm gonna have it treat these as the same, all one big task, because I don't want to do these separate. Okay, so the items in current.md are one item. Also, I fixed the format for the ID. Make the UID an actual example, please. Okay, let's see what it does. So, okay, so do it. I don't know why I didn't do anything. That was weird. Okay, so it's going to make all this into one. Okay, cool. So I still insist that it be. Is this a good format? No. I would like the name to actually just be the title, like this. Yeah, I would prefer that, and I would just prefer this to be like this. I insist. I know that's not how you should do Markdown, but it's also not complaining. So this will look good. Let's take a quick preview of what this will look like. So something like this. Okay, so, and then the last thing here is I want to make current.md into a checklist instead of just into a checklist. Actually, I don't need a checklist. The checklist can be made at the time when we do the task, because the problem is when you make a checklist and you come up with a solution, it's probably not going to be accurate, and by the time you get to it, it could be also very different. So we'll just leave it like this. I think this is good. I don't have anything for links here. Okay, so let's fix that too. Let's make this an H2. Okay, so I guess the next thing here is that we need to work on the script. So I want to make a new script that will append new tasks to the bottom of current.md or backlog.md. And I want a config file to hold the references for possible targets. So targets in case I want to use it for other files. The purpose of this script is to append new tasks in the format that we currently have for our example task in current.md. This format is meant to be parsable, and also the script should generate a unique UID for the task. Make this in a root level scripts folder, and then add this script to our package.json. That was a very long, oh, what is going on here? Okay, something's happening. Okay, I don't know, that was like a weird glitch. Okay, so it's making the directory and scripts. Okay, cool. Wait, hold on. We're getting some graphical weirdness here. Let's open up a new Gemini session. You know, Gemini be acting up. It's been really buggy lately. Okay, so that might take a moment. It's oftentimes slow to start up, but what the heck? Let's just go ahead and pop open Cascade. Now I'm going to put that same prompt in here. Good thing I copied and pasted it. Let's see what this says. It just takes so long for I might need to like relaunch or install Gemini, because the startup time is just ridiculous right now. I bet you that Cascade will finish before Gemini CLI fully loads. Let me go ahead and check the chat. Thank you all for coming in here. As usual, no chats. But we're going to keep on pressing. Thank you all for being here and for joining me. We have been streaming for 45 minutes. We're going to stream probably for another 30 minutes or so and then take a break. But if you need a snack, go ahead and get you a sneaky snack. I support that. In fact, bring me one too. Grab me something from the corner store. I'll be right here. And we'll just do this for another 30, 40 minutes, and I'm going to take a break too. Okay, so let's see what this is up to. So it's reading the current.md. It's reading the backlog, reading the package JSON. Okay. And then I'm hoping that what it does is it uses this actual scripts folder that we have right here. When it's making this, I want it to make this as its own complete module with its own README. And I'm going to have other scripts which will also be their own modules and their own READMEs. And these are made to be reusable within this repo at least. So, okay, it's going to make a config file. So the first thing here is I wanted to make a file that is configurable with different targets so that I can actually, I don't have to memorize those. I know that I'll be using this to do any sort of task management inputs for a file, like whether it's the current or the backlog or even something in an archive. I want to be able to just point it to something specifically. And I don't know the full number of things I'm going to use this for right now. So just kind of thinking about the future-proofing it a little bit. Hey, what's up, Spetty Sanchez? Thanks for lurking over here. It's good to see anyone in the audience. I always appreciate people stopping by to watch my little stream. Oh, I have this in chat mode. I got to switch this to code mode. But I can actually just go ahead and give it permission to apply that change, accept that. So this is going to be the two directories. Perfect. And while this is working, I just want to open up a new terminal here and see if we can get... I think I'm actually going to uninstall and reinstall Gemini CLI. I might have to do that because this is just too crazy. Okay. Yeah, I'll just use the global uninstall tool. I hate to do it, but I got to. Okay, so I'm going to kill this terminal. And right here, I can just do this. And then, so I got rid of that. And then we can reinstall it. Right, y'all. Like this. Okay, so we got some more stuff to apply here. So we got that one. And then this is the actual script here. Okay, generate the UUID. I kind of, okay, so this is like very functional. I'm kind of wanting it to do this in a, I'm just going to see what happens if I ask it to do it in a much more object-oriented way. Okay, so while it's doing that, while it's fussing over my directions, I'm just going to go ahead and see if Gemini now works. It's probably going to make me redo my authorization. So let's just see. Let's just do my gpro command. Does that still work? Please work. Okay, that didn't. It seems to not be doing what I want. Clear. In fact, let's go ahead and open up a new terminal and do Gemini. Please work. Okay, so now it's going to do this in a more object-oriented way. I just feel like for this use case of editing a document, and we're essentially treating this as a type of data store, I feel like this paradigm of coding works a little bit better. At least it's easier for me to know what's going on. So, okay, so this is a loader. Let's just go ahead and apply it, and then we can just read the code. And we can always reject if we don't like the direction this is going once it gets going. Okay, so, excuse me. Okay, so this is going to configure the target. Okay. So this is like the incoming arguments that you get when you pass arguments in through the command line. They have to basically be unpackaged, essentially, and then used to essentially sort out like through the logic here. Okay, so this is going to make a UUID. Oh, so we're going to have to do some installation stuff here, I see. Okay. Okay, that's going to be fine. Oh, maybe this comes with Node. Okay, so UUID. Okay, so we have, these are the fields here. Cool. Okay. To markdown. I got it. Okay. And then at some point in the future, but not today, we need to make a new script that can actually read these, and then one that could loop through a directory and read the data or something like that. That's just going to give us a way to access these. We might even eventually store these in our database if we need to, or find a way to export these things to projects. Actually, I know a way to do that. So, okay, so this looks good. Let's see here. It's now clear classes, holds the target alias map, convert CLI flags into structured options. I'm trying to see. Oh, here it is right here. So this is how we bring those in. Okay, so we have in our package JSON, it's going to need to add. There's no task add. Apparently it thinks it was already there, but that script is not there. I don't see it here. Do y'all see it? Do y'all see task add in here? Because I surely don't. Time for you to crash out. I know it is late, and it's not even late. I just feel like it's later. It's only like 9 o'clock here, but still, these late streams be getting me. So I do not blame you for crashing. Yeah, come by if you ever get a chance. I try to do this like 2-3 days a week. So thanks for coming by. Okay, so let's see what it's talking about. Okay, so it's going to add my scripts here. Just one script here. Okay, cool. And I guess the parameters can be, oh, okay, you just be passed in like that. Okay. Okay, so one thing I'm going to have it do, by the way, is I'm going to have it refactor this algorithm or whatever you want to call this little script. I need this to be broken up into sub-modules, and I need this whole thing to be in its own directory. So add task script should be in its own directory and broken up into sub-modules with good hierarchy and file structure. Add a oh, finally, how long did it take for, oh, there's an error here. Oh, I think context 7. Oh, my context 7 thing is what's keeping it because it's trying to, okay. Okay, that means I need to fix that. Oh, maybe I'll fix it during my break. Okay, back to this. The add task script should be in its own directory and broken up into sub-modules with good hierarchy and file structure. Add readme and expose the script through an index barrel file. Assume that we will add other scripts in the future, and also please reference this script directory with a link in the root level readme. So basically, like I said, I want to treat anything in my scripts folder as its own separate module. It just makes it portable. And also, too, if I do something in this project that is its own, defined as its own module, and then I like have a use case, which I likely will for this, in another repo that I'm working on, I can literally just copy and paste it over. Like there have been tons of times where I've made a script in one project and then I work on something new. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to copy and paste it over because it's already written and it's already modular. And I can like literally do that. I could, in fact, take it one step further and just publish any of these scripts as their own NPM package if they're structured, you know, as such. And then I can just import them across different projects if I wanted to, which is something I want to do in the future. But I don't want to do that for every single script. Being able to copy and paste them from projects to project is still a worthy task. Okay, so it's going to do its thing. While it does this, I'm going to just look up how to update my Gemini CLI thing because I think context 7 is still breaking. And even though I changed the URL recently, apparently I didn't do it right. So give me just a second here. Oh, I think I can do /MCP. Um, oh, there's no way to do it. I guess there's no way for me to do it within the Gemini session. So I'm gonna try to look it up here. So okay. We're getting into some real stuff right now. Okay, so here, right here it is. Here's the MCP for context 7. I'm just going to delete that for now. And I guess the test of whether or not that did what I think it's supposed to do, which is make Gemini not crash out when I try to load it. Let's just try to restart a new session. Let's do G flash. There you go. Okay, so yeah, I guess that was the issue. I really need to figure out what's going on with Context 7 because I would really love to have that. But anyways, I'm glad I have this back now. I much more prefer doing coding with Gemini CLI. It's just so much faster. Although Cascade is great. Cascade with GPT-5 medium reasoning, right now they're doing a thing where it's free for your tokens, and it's really good. So that's what I'm using, but it's just much slower. That's it. So, okay, so it is going to, okay, so it's updating here. It's going to make an index file that will expose the API, which is what I want. Okay. If executed directly, run as a CLI. Cool. Okay. Yep, so that's good. The config.js. Yes, from targets. Okay. Args. Another thing I'm going to have it do is update these with JS docs as well. CLI. Okay. We're just going to apply all of these and then make changes as needed. We also need to have it add testing as well. Okay, so I'm going to switch this over to code. That way we can move a little faster. And I'm going to have it do some cleanup. Please do cleanup and make sure the target in the correct place. And one more thing. Let's just have that's fine for now. There's something else, but I forgot what I needed it to do. So we'll just let it do that for right now. So do cleanup. Okay. Okay, so this is gonna take a billion years because it's slow. While it's doing that thing though, I think this might be a good time to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to use this new script or finish working on it with you all, and then I'm going to use that essentially to add some new tasks to my current.md file. And with that current.md file, we're going to just try to populate this with enough stuff that I think is manageable within the next 2 weeks or so. And then once we do that, one of the items here is going to be our data modeling, and then we'll do a little bit of that at the end, because that to me is something I've been looking forward to for a little bit. And there's going to be some research around that as well. Okay. I'm tempted to just sit here and wait until this is done, but I know it's going to be forever. Okay. Okay, so it's giving me some options here. I think I can get rid of this, and there's a file here that has the targets, but these targets need to exist in here. Oh wait, is this okay? So targets. I'm gonna have it update this targets for config.js are in the add task root fix config.js. And then yes, I do agree having the aliases for current and for backlog would be nice. And also I want to add the flag for a preview. That would also be nice as well. And then after that, we can just we can probably even just run it and see what it does. Okay, so maybe this part here, adding the aliases and the dry, that will be what I have it do when I go on break. Oh, excuse me. I can update this while I'm waiting. So we had task. Let's see, what do we have? So we have this. So we have title, description, acceptance criteria, links, notes. So description, acceptance criteria, links, notes. And we need one more for title. So I'm treating this as structured data, essentially, just like I would if I were organizing this in a database, which, like I said, could eventually be a consumer of this document if I wanted to do this. I'm really interested in this idea of maintaining the actual collateral of the sprint process within the repo. I don't know why. I feel like that is just a really good idea. Being able to reference things from the actual sprint documentation is really helpful. I've found it so useful. Not just for like direct development, but also it's really useful for content creation and for writing reports. I'll likely find some type of way to make a submodule so that it could be at least in its own repo, even if I'm using it in this repo. That way I don't get bogged down as much with just one repo. Okay, so here we go. So this is what the document looks like, and then we have a script that will essentially take this, and imagine this as like the arguments of a command script, and then it will parse this and then convert this into the document here, essentially. And this is how we'll manage our document. And then we'll, like I said, we'll probably come up with some other tools that'll go with this. So as a part of a larger CLI for this. But for now, we have add task. And then in the future, we'll have other ones. I'm thinking delete task. And this will take a hash or last 4 of hash. Just to make it easy. Or not last 4. Let's do, it'll be like something like the last 6 or something. Because after a certain amount of hash digits or whatever you will call them, there's just a very low likelihood that you'll see overlap. So we don't need to like get this huge number. The last 6 is fine in most cases. So hash, delete task by hash, and then read tasks. We'll put like this, tasks. We'll have the ability to read tasks, and then we'll have some type of search. Let's just say search. Okay, so for now, we're just working on this first one, add task. And then we'll do the other ones as needed. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time working on those other ones right now if I don't need them for anything particular. Those will become like backlog things to do. Okay, so fix applied. So let's see here. Okay, so add tasks or add task has the new task config or task targets config file. But it's still backwards compatible as a fallback. Okay, that's fine. Okay, cool. So I think that is done. And then I'll tell it to add the aliases for current and backlog targets, as well as the dry. Then add some testing. Okay, so I'm going to have this run. I'm going to get up and take a small little break. We've been streaming for 1 hour and 10 minutes, so please go grab a snack. Don't go too far, but if you go anywhere, make your way back to the Wolfpack. I'll be right here. This is Key, and I will see you in just a little bit. Peace. It's the breakdown. Release that. Release that. Release that. It's the breakdown. Hey, how's it going? It's your lovely host, Key, and you're watching Primitive. And we're back to continue our episode number 8 of Build in Public, and we're working on the comic panel application. But before we get started, watch this quick video. Okay, let's go ahead and jump back. Jump back into this. And, caught myself there. Okay, let's get back into this. Thanks for joining us today. We're working on the comic panel app. While I was away, I did a couple things. I went ahead and finished up the little tool I was making. I felt like it was taking up too much time, so I just went ahead and finished it real quick. It's a command line tool that basically allows us to easily manage just standardized entries into our task management files, basically. What's important, though, is I also switched, since I resolved the issues with Gemini, now we are able to just use that instead of using Cascade, which is going to be much faster. Gemini is just very strong, but it's not as good as what Cascade can do in terms of dealing with like complex stuff between files and whatever. But it's also just cheaper and faster. So if we have something really big to work on, I'll come back to Cascade. It's going to be there. My $10 a month is good for something. But for the majority of things, I'm going to try to get by using Gemini Flash, because I can always fix things up a little later if I need to. But the main thing is, like, I don't want to be waiting forever to get things done. Sorry, I had some Oreos before I got on here, and I munched them down, and then I don't have anything to drink, so it's very dry up in here. Okay, so where are we now? Okay, so now that we have that done, Gemini doesn't know anything about any of this stuff, like any of this like tooling or these scripts. These scripts. I might need to get some water. It doesn't know anything about these, so we need to just basically tell it to read the documentation, and then I'm going to give it a task to add actually to. Oh, how about this? Please familiarize yourself with the new add task script and package.json. Then read the code from the actual script directory. Then add a new standard to Gemini.md that says to always use the add task scripts from package.json to create tasks whenever we are modifying the current and backlog documents. Yeah, that's what I want. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm giving Gemini a new standard to add to its own understanding of the context through these .gemini files in this directory here. So I have a folder for standards, and I want it to make a new standard that will tell it in the future to do this instead of trying to manually update the file, to simply use this script to append. And let's see here. So it's making a new standard. Let's go ahead and read that standard. It's in workflows for task management. Okay, and it has some examples here. Sure. Something I'm going to have it do, in fact, is I'm going to have it list out all the arguments that this can take. So, because it doesn't have enough information in here right now to use accurately without going and reading the README, and that's kind of like a waste. So I'm going to say update the standard document to have a description of the API for this script. I spelled script wrong. As much as these Oreos are causing me to have a coughing test, I also just want another one. I meant to get Oreo Cakesters because they're my favorite, and I wasn't looking, and I just was in a rush, so I just kind of grabbed what I thought was Oreo Cakesters, and it's just regular blonde Oreos, which is fine, but I need to have milk or something. Okay, so now it has all of the arguments here. Oh my god, that was so good. Woo! That was so good. Okay, so it's going to do a test run targeting the current, and I wanted to make this like quite a detailed one. So make it quite detailed, like the example that is already in current.md. I want to make sure it can handle a lot of detail. Read current MD, please. Okay, let's see. The biggest thing is I don't know how it's gonna handle bullet points. Okay. Okay, use this and okay, so I'm gonna have it make a new task for me. So the new task is going to be, I need new task for current.md. This task is to implement the data. This task is to research and implement the types for a data model that is able to save to TIFF file format. This task needs to be done in the front, in the back end. Oh wait, let's do it in the front end first. The data model needs to first be defined in the front end. This to be defined in the front end. I spelled that wrong. Defined and for managing the canvas area of the comic layout, or the canvas area. For managing the canvas area and the canvas area, its elements, properties, and layers. I need a npm package that manages this if there is one for there's probably some type of utility or tool for writing TIFF files that I can pass an object to. Or managing the data structure. I might have to work this idea, but I think that's a close proximity right now. So essentially, I don't want to have to write the whole entire data structure for TIFF like by myself. Okay, this came out pretty much exactly how I wanted. This is good enough. But see, now I have the same type of format for both of these tasks. Okay. I also feel like this might be a spike. So separate this into two tasks. Use the script to make a new one, and then separate the details. The one task should be for a spike, and the second task should be to implement this in the front end. The spike deliverable is an example of a mock data structure with the correct typing being saved to a TIFF file at a target location in the file system using the native GUI. And the implementation should have our canvas structure. Oh wait, we actually we need to have two spikes. The second spike. This is going to be really, really badly written prompt, and I know it's going to struggle, but it's fine. So the second spike should be to create. Actually, it doesn't need to be a spike. We'll just say the implementation will be to create rendering state data structure that is based on the same data model as is needed to save to TIFF, or one that can be converted to TIFF through a utility. So the main problem I'm trying to solve right now is I need to have a data model that can represent the actual visuals that we're working with, which is going to be like this. Okay, so the canvas is going to have a page data model. That data model needs to be stored in our global state. And this, whatever this page data model is, this represents one TIFF file that will have these or other properties on it. And whatever way I'm storing it in the global state, I need to be able to pass that state, or at least part of it, through some type of function or utility that, instead of saving it to a data store, will instead, in this case, store it to a file, which for me will be TIFF file. Also, by the way, I want to thank I can't remember the name of the streamer, or one of the guests that were in the last stream recommended TIFF, which is why I'm going to use it, because you were also helpful. So we're going to do this with TIFF as the data source. So this is this little gap right here, getting from the actual canvas, having a data model with a type, and this type system has to work on both sides here, the front end and the REST back end. And it has to also correlate to something, some format that will work with the TIFF, what's the word I'm looking for? The specifications of the TIFF file format. All of which I don't, I'm not an expert on any of this stuff, so. But anyways, this is going to be the point of doing it as a spike, to isolate it from the main project, and that way I can be messy and make mistakes and do all that kind of stuff. So it's going to make the new tasks here, and look here, look how beautiful these unique identifiers are. Then that way I can in the future perform a search or make a reference to them, and they will always be unique. Okay, so spike, canvas, data model, implement front end. Okay. I'm going to ask it here, can you recommend npm package for the spike? Want to do the heavy lifting for managing the interfaces and types with canvas. Excuse me. With types. And I also would like to have types to use for when I build the canvas rendering system. So if I can inherit some of the typing from a TIFF library, a TIFF specifications or typing library, I don't know if such a thing exists, but if I can inherit those and use those with the canvas rendering engine in my app, that'll be really nice, because that also helps me to not be responsible for the type of something that is meant to be open source as well. And I'm going to let it do its own thing. Actually, for a fact, know that there is one. I did a little research over the weekend. It just slips my mind, but I'm going to Google it off screen here. So is this like an encoder, decoder? Let's see here. Types, UTIF, exactly what you need to avoid heavy lifting of managing. I also need a writer. Another thing too is, like, do I want to write these files from the front end, or do I want to write these files from the back end? I think writing them from the back end makes the most sense. Yeah, the front end is supposed to, the back end is supposed to be authoritative. It's also supposed to be like the source of truth, because there's going to be a cached version of whatever the user is seeing in the back end, and the front end is going to update the back end to the current data model and then tell it to save the file. Okay, so I'm just going to say here, I need to, but regardless of the back end doing all that stuff, if I define the typing system in the front end, it'll be easy to reference that and make something that works in the back end. And the front end is going to be a lot easier for me to do the data modeling inside of. So for now, I can just have the data model save from the front end. I'm trying to think. Okay, so yeah, I need the TIFF export to happen by calling an invoke function that sends the data structure the front end to update the cache in the back end, and then use that to write the TIFF file. So we need to also have compatible types for the Rust back end, as well as a writer for creating also a utility for writing and reading TIFF files. For writing, reading, and editing files, which will entirely happen in the back end. This needs to be in the spike and is also for the implementation as well. The spike will work purely from a data structure, and the implement data structure. There needs to be a new spike that will specifically be about creating parity between the TIFF for Okay, so this is going to actually change this a little bit. I think I need three things. I think I need a spike for the Canvas data modeling as far as it comes to the TIFF side of things, but I also need a spike as far as it goes to the Canvas management side of things. And then I need a bridge between those two. I think it just straight up just, oh, so I just edited that, okay. So I think I need to have 3 spikes and then an implementation. Okay, so need 3 spikes and 1 for the typing as it relates to saving the TIFF file. From a mock data structure, the backend. A second spike for the front end operability between the Canvas management state and sending the data in a structure that is operable. That is convertible or global with TIFF. A third spike for how to bridge so that the front end can save the current state contents of the canvas to a file by invoking int. Ooh, this is like really a mind bender. Let's see. Hopefully this comes out good. This is going to have to rewrite these a little bit to restructure them. But I think that this makes sense to break this up. So three, and then the implementation is going to be bringing these three things together essentially. But this is definitely going to be spike worthy because these are things I've never done and I want to make some mistakes and not be afraid of them. And I'll do these on the stream too. I'll try to do them on the stream. I mean, I get to all of them. Sometimes spikes are just things I like to work on like here and there, like while I'm doing something else, especially with the AI stuff. Oh, it's having a hard time with the button script. Okay, cool. So the goal here is for the implementation to be an end-to-end feature feature for Canvas to file reading and writing, and this is a core part of rendering. Rendering. We will eventually add other export types. Okay. So hopefully what I'm expecting it to do is to put these spikes in a specific order that it makes sense, and then to leave the implementation for the end. Oh, it's just going to spawn entirely new ones. Okay, that's cool. The next script that I might have it make then is just a delete script. As you can see here, it's just much faster to use like an intermediary command line script and to have AI use that script for you. It's just so much faster. It saves like a small amount of time. It creates like a little efficiency. Okay, so here backend data handling and saving. Research and integrate a Rust library for reading, writing, and editing TIFF files. Define compatible Rest types for mocking Canvas data structure, and demonstrate saving this mock data to a TIFF file. Okay. That makes sense. Research and define optimal front-end Canvas data model, elements, properties, layers with TypeScript types, ensuring it inherently compatible or easily convertible to TIFF-like data structure. This includes exploring how existing libraries represent their data and how they can be mapped to, mapped, that's the key word here, mapped to TIFF concepts. Yeah, layers and all that kind of stuff. Okay. And then the backend saving integration, that is to really connect so that the canvas in the front end can call a function using the invoke script or the invoke function, in the front end that will send over the current data for that part of the application state for the canvas, and make that available to the backend so the backend can do this like saving stuff. Right now, this is just one file, and it probably seems like so silly to just like use the backend for all of that with the overhead. But what I'm thinking is that eventually I'm going to allow my users to manage and maintain collections of pages, and then to save an entire collection of pages, which could be like a book or whatever, and it needs to be able to do that really fast. And so as we sort of scale up in terms of the number of operations and the complexity of those operations for saving files, which essentially is just a lot of conversion, a lot of mapping, it's just going to be a lot faster to do it like on the Rust backend as the users use more and more things, larger files. So there's integration here. And I might do all of these spikes inside of a repo. I could also do these spikes separately, but I think I might do all these spikes together. Maybe we'll see. I might literally just write straight up Rust instead of making like a whole server, and just, yeah, these will probably be separate things, but I'll do them in the same repo probably. I think that's what I'll do. Okay, so those are a bunch of spikes. We have the CI/CD pipeline here. Anything else? I feel like this is a lot of stuff to do, but this is also a core part of our rendering engine. It's not going to change anything here, unfortunately. This is going to be kind of bland for a little bit while we work on like the invisible stuff. So I wish that this was like more exciting, but I think that this is good for now. Yeah, I think this is good for now. So this is going to help us with our data model stuff. I'm trying to think, do I have any more tasks that I want to do? Anything else that's pressing? This was the only thing that we didn't really do. Let's take a look at our scope, our scope document. I think getting the deployment stuff up, that's going to be a pretty big deal. Once the deployment stuff is up and I can release builds and stuff, then it's just going to be a race to alpha. And then I'll just have the app available on my website, which is primitive.com. There'll be an update where that app will be available there. But I need to get the deployment stuff done so that I can race to alpha and then make the first release available on the site, probably as its own subdomain or something. But is there anything else here for now? Oh, another thing is, okay, so I'll just explain this. How do I explain this? Okay, so one of the issues when you're coding with AI is that you're going to have to manage the entropy and the organization of the repository that you're working in. And that's with all coding, but it's especially dire when you're coding at the breakneck speed of AI. In short, things can get really, really messy. And so it is advantageous to have feedback loops in your project that help your AI tool of choice understand the quality, so to speak, of your application. Now, testing is one way to do this. Linting is another way to do this, right? I could run my linter right now, in fact, and it will probably be able to use the feedback from the terminal to decide what to do next. Let's in fact do that right now. So linting and testing are two really important ways to ensure the quality of the code and stuff like that. But another thing that's important is it's super important that you have other things that are quality assurance. So, for example, managing circular dependencies, that's an issue. It can cause all sorts of memory and performance issues. Another thing is um, you may have functions or files that are not being used. And there are tools that can analyze your code in order to figure that out. So, what I'm getting at here is I want to make a task in my project that will essentially be a script or a set of scripts that will produce some useful outputs that I can give to AI in the event that I want to do some type of audit to objectively determine the quality of my code beyond just my own stylistic preferences. And this is going to be useful because it's like a macro level way of managing entropy. The less circular dependencies, the less dead code you have, um, the more your code is well formatted, the better tested your code is. All these things collectively, as well as like the presence of documentation in your code and stuff like that, all that stuff, when done well, makes for code that is easy to manage and also that has hopefully less cruft in it. So that's going to be the task that I will have it do next. So it looks like my linter is good. I didn't have any lint errors. But let's go ahead and make a new task. So I need to make a new task. This task is to add new scripts and tooling for a new tooling to the code quality. For example, finding circular dependencies. What was the other thing I said? Circular dependencies, unused functions, files, etc. Also constants. What else? Managing file size, and etc. I don't know what all the things that are, but I know that there are just like a plethora of tools. These are often things that are used in automations for DevOps as well. That's where you'll typically see these. Sometimes people will even build very specific metrics and requirements around these quality assurance automations. I'm going to be essentially hijacking these same types of tools and using their outputs, however, as input for AI so that AI can do this quality assurance, but also do something about it, which I think is one of the cool things that we can do here. So let's go ahead and check out the task that it made for me. Why is this file? Oh, okay. I got some weird space in here, it looks like. Let's fix that. I was freaking out for a second. I thought I deleted stuff. Let's fix all of these. It looks like our little script is kind of messing up with the spacing. Okay, so code quality, auditing tools, and scripts. Let's check our backlog too. Okay, I think we're good there too. Okay, so Command Shift V to preview. And let's go down here. Research, integrate, configure new scripts and tooling to audit code quality. This includes identifying circular dependencies, unused functions, files, constants, managing. Okay. I'm just going to ask it, are there other code quality automations I can add? The goal here is that we need to make the outputs compiled into a single file that is dated and numbered, which can be ran numbered, and when the script runs, it will show the agent who ran the script where the single output file for all the feedback is kept, and a prompt when the script is done, directing it to review that file at the exact location, and then to recommend updates based on its contents. So I want this script to be optimized with the assumption that I am not going to run this script. AI is going to run it for me. And then whatever the script puts out, it is going to go look at those things. And usually these individual tools will have their own way of like saving reports. I want to actually compile all those reports into a single source file. Okay. Script runs existing and newly integrated code quality tools. Okay, so I want this new script to have a config file to enable and disable, and oh wait, I want to do this with like a plugin type of structure. So each of the code quality tools is a plug-in and sub-module that will contribute to create a compiled report document that is configurable. That way, when my AI agent audits the outputs, we can control what they contain through a config file and a parameter. The plugins will be integrations that allow us to set up new scripts with the args and targets. I think that's what I mean. We can also figure out some of this stuff like later on as well. And the last thing I'm going to do when it finishes this update is I'm going to tell it that normally individual quality assurance tools create their own separate reports. The goal here is to make a single report, and then also to make sure that these reports are not included in the Git history, as we'll be doing this quite frequently. So normally the quality assurance tools will have their own reporting outputs, but for this it's really important to capture the outputs and instead write them to a single file. Okay. Okay, so I think I got everything. Let's just read through this. Design and implement an automated system for comprehensive code quality auditing with the modular plugin architecture. This system will orchestrate various code quality plugins, each contributing to a consolidated configurable report. The report will be dated, numbered, and designed for AI agent review, allowing control over its contents via a configuration file and parameters. A new core script is created to manage the auditing process Each plugin can be configured with a specific arguments. So the thing that I realize about myself is that sometimes I over-engineer. There might already be something like this. There might already be something like this, like a macro tool for automation, for automating this type of thing. I don't know. I've never spent a ton of time working in this particular area, so let's just ask it. Okay, based on this task, is there a tool that you think I should be using to make this easier, which could work for the technologies of this project, of this project's stack? Let's just make sure, because I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I would love to, actually. I would love to do that, but I have to be able to get this done. So basically, I'm looking for like some type of orchestration. Okay, here are some recommendations focusing on tools that can facilitate the plugin architecture and output consolidation. So Just is a command runner. Oh, I like Make, but Makefile is sometimes a little messy. Just is language agnostic to orchestrate both bun commands and cargo commands. I've never heard of Just. Okay, let's see. Just file. Is that new? It's a command runner. Oh yeah, it looks like a Makefile. I'll show you what it looks like here. This is the format for Just. So it's like Makefile. I like it. I like it a lot. So what it's saying is that I'm going to have commands that are both in the front end, which is going to be NPM stuff or button stuff for us. And I'm also going to have these cargo scripts as well, stuff for REST basically. And I need to have a single place where I can compose both of them, but in an organized way. And I could just use the root level package.json. The only thing is that it's going to get really bloated. And I'm going to have a ton of scripts, and maybe I just expose some like high level orchestrating script to package it. But I do like the idea of having a separate set of tools for running some of these commands. I don't need to do everything in package.json. I really don't. I'm not convinced that that's the way that I want to do it. I wish there was a way. I don't know if there's like a way to have a subscript file. That could also be another thing. I do, however, like the syntax highlighting that I get from Makefile and for, I guess, apparently for Just. So this is Makefile, like this. So just key value pairs where you put the script you want to run, and then there's some like notation stuff you can do as well inside of it. So either one of these, but I don't know the primary difference between Just file and Makefile. Okay, so run multiple NPM scripts in parallel. Oh, I like that. Actually, I really like the idea of running in parallel because that performance saving, that time saving actually could be really important if I have a lot of quality control stuff. Okay, I'm going to tell it that I like the idea of using Just file to hold the actual scripts and then exposing to actual bun scripts, we'll say. And then exposing them by creating orchestration scripts and package JSON. which can run in parallel as needed. Okay, so there's going to be a tiered layered approach or architecture to this automation, the scripting, how I'm handling it. The just file is going to be the place where I hold the individual scripts for all of the different QA tools that I have, and those are going to be considered my quote unquote plugins. And then I'll be able to call them indirectly by scripts that are defined in package.json, and that's what it's going to update here. So I'll just say update the task for this now. Okay, I don't need to do this part today, but that's good. Okay, so I think I have more than enough for the next 2 weeks. In fact, I don't think I will get through all of this, and it is quite all right if I don't. So here's just like advice when it comes to working on projects for yourself. Having too many things to work on and having too few things to work on are both problematic. One of your goals when you're defining your own workloads, and this is not just true for coding, this is just true for flow state and whatnot in general, is you want to strike a balance. You want to have enough things where you can use your time responsibly. Remember that if you have stuff to do, you're more likely to do it. If you don't know what to do, you're more likely to be paralyzed, right? But if you give yourself too many things, then you're going to be possibly struggling with the feeling of inadequacy or feeling overwhelmed, And sometimes some of us put more food on our plate than we can eat. So you want to find the balance somewhere there in the middle of those two extremes. That comes with time, and even for me, I've been doing this for like 8 years. It's still really challenging to get the balance there. When you're thinking about like sprints and Scrum, we call these like estimates. You got to be good at estimating how much work actually can fit into your true capacity. I think that this is a little bit beyond my capacity, and I like to always have something a little extra. The thing that varies is that sometimes we underestimate how long something will take, and then you get done, and then you're like, okay, I don't have anything else lined up. As long as we have stuff in our backlog, I don't have to worry about that. And if I don't get through all of this, I also will be fine as well. I think the main thing that we're going to be doing is a CI/CD pipeline and then these spikes. The implementation and then the quality assurance stuff, that could be for the next sprint. And I think I'd be fine with that. So, okay, so let's go ahead and do a commit. In fact, I don't even need to have AI do the commit. I'll just do it myself here. I'm going to do this commit, and then we're going to just wrap some stuff up, and then we're going to head out for the night. We've been streaming for almost 2 hours and a half, so this has been a good amount of time anyways. Please stick with me. We have just a little bit to go here. And while you're here, please go ahead and drop a comment in the chat. I appreciate everyone for coming here. Whether you're watching today, tomorrow, in the future, in the past, or wherever you may be, just know that I'm grateful. So yeah, just bear with me for a few moments. Let's do our wrap up, and then I'll get you out of here. So before I go today, I want to make sure that I update my documentation, because not only do I use this a repo for the actual project itself, but I'm also using this to log my updates. So I have this changelog file here. What I'm going to say is, please review the changelog to understand the format, and then review the git log for the past 2 days. I think I only have 1 day of stuff, but I'm going to say 2 days. And make an update based on the diff between now and the past to accurately report the changes in our project. So I'm going to do that first. After it makes the new update in the changelog, I'm going to have it compose a new LinkedIn post for me, similar to the ones here. Excuse me, similar to the ones here. So that I can just update LinkedIn. Sometimes on LinkedIn, I update them manually. Sometimes I update them using this process. I go back and forth. but this is convenient when you're a little bit more pressed for time. So it's looking at all of my recent Git history, and ooh, did it delete my changelog? Nope, that's wrong. I'm gonna stop it. Okay, don't delete. I'm gonna say, oh man, it really messed me up here. Okay, you shouldn't have deleted the old entries. This was meant to go at the top. I'm gonna have to make a new script. Maybe I'll modify the scripting for adding task and make it more genericized and add a new one for adding new changelog entries. Because this is something that it sometimes Gemini does, is it will try to, it thinks it's helping you out, but it really just deletes old stuff when you have these like data structures stored in a text file. So that was potentially dangerous, but that's why I always review my stuff. If you're not paying attention, it will delete things, and I don't understand why it thinks it needs to. But anyways, so update sprint documentation to include update package JSON. Okay, cool. I don't think there's a whole lot to report here, but I'm still going to just have it make a new LinkedIn entry for me. So I'll say read the past 3 LinkedIn log entries, and then make a new one that is related to what we worked on in this session. This is a post to promote the live stream that we did while working on these, found here. And I'm going to give it a link to the actual live stream that we're doing right now. I don't know if it has the ability to actually watch them or do anything with it, but it'll at least be able to put that link, put the link in the post, and anything else. Okay, yeah, so we'll have it do that. I always take a couple screenshots, and then include those screenshots in the actual LinkedIn post. I think I've gone through this before, but I just have like a whole workflow that I do essentially that allows me to take stuff I do in the stream, talk about it, post screenshots from the stream, and then share that with people on LinkedIn. And it makes it just really a nice little feedback loop. And so I try to stick to it. So just wrapped up another build in public session with our Tauri, SolidJS, and Rust desktop app. We dove. I don't like the word dove. We worked on refining our development workflow and laying out groundwork for crucial. I don't like that. Let's see. Okay, so I don't know why I put that one there. Implement a new standard for task management, ensuring all sprint and backlog updates are made via automated script for consistency. This makes it easier to use our repository as the source of truth for our project's current state and tasks. Begin designing a robust plugin-based code quality auditing system aiming for consolidation, AI reviewable reports. This will help us maintain high code quality and potentially potential issues early. Laid out detailed plan for implementing TIFF file. Right. Okay, cool. This summary is this session was all about building foundational tools and planning architecture for high quality. We don't need that. That's kind of cheesy. Okay, so I think this is what we need right here. I always end up kind of changing these a little bit later on anyway. So I like to put these all inside of backticks. Whoops, what did I do? Like that. And we'll make this text. Okay, so I got that, and let's go ahead and do a new commit, generate, commit. And then something I do that is not a part of this stream is actually for my business, I generate a report on the current state of my projects. So I have that in here as well. So I'm going to have a new progress report generated. I'm going to say, please read the progress report from 801 and then review the changes and Git since then to create a new progress report for the current state of the application. Okay, so I do this because when I think about my applications, I'm trying my best to think about it from the perspective of an enterprise architect or something such as that. Um, so as an enterprise, I'm making this application within an actual business structure, which is just my business primitive. But I want to make sure that when I'm working on things, I'm aligning it with business goals and not just making and chasing after an app because it's a cool idea, which would be worthy if it was just a hobby. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. In fact, you should be doing that anyways. But I want to make sure that I have the ability to turn this into information that is consumable or of interest to potential stakeholders, whether those are human entities or my AI system that I have. So by having a progress report, just think about like if you were working on a team or if you were working with an investor or you're working with a manager, they occasionally want to have information about what you've been doing, what's been up. And so I make a document or I generate a document that has that information. And I try to do this weekly or every 2 weeks or something like that. And this just helps me see the bigger picture and to also create strategy that is just interrelated to other things I'm trying to do within my company so it all fits and flows together. So let's just read through this really quick. So built upon foundation architecture established in early August, significant strides, refined development. So some of this is word salad. Critical features like TIFF. Okay, cool. Refined development, workflows, tools, strategic planning, future. Okay, so this all seems pretty good. Next steps. Okay. Okay, so this is good. Okay, so let's go ahead and commit that too. All I do is I just copy and paste that file into my my workspace for where I do like a lot of my business strategy stuff. And this report just allows me to just essentially check in. So that's good. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up this work session. I want to thank you all for coming to the stream. My name is Key, and this is Primitive. And thank you so much for stopping by, all 11 of you. I don't care how small my audience is, by the way. I don't care how large it is. I'm always going to be thankful that you took your time to come over here and hang out with your boy. So go ahead and give us a follow, a like, subscribe, leave us a comment, do all the things that you normally do. You know, they say what they be saying at the end of the videos and stuff. Do that. Do that for me, please. And I will catch you in the next stream. And before you go, watch this video. Deuces.